Hey, okay, what's up, guys? What's up, guys? Okay, I'm hoping that people can hear me right now. I gotta do a little testing real quick. Hey, yep, okay, looks good. Okay, I'm hoping that people, yeah, okay, sweet, sweet. Nice, okay, this is great. Let me go ahead and do one more test real quick just to check this. Alright, so let's see how that sounded. Let me go ahead and do one more test real quick just to check this. Perfect, perfect. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Let me check this. Want to make sure I'm letting people know that I'm streaming. Because all right. Sweet. All right. So, thank you for anyone who is hanging out, checking this out. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. And also doing covers, and I enjoyed mixing it, producing it, doing all of that kind of work as well. So I have a project that I'm working on right now. I'm actually working on basically remixing an older album from my online band, Searching Serenity, for anyone that's not familiar. So I have an album from, it's only like 2 years old, so it's not like that old, really. But I want to Hey, okay, there we go. Whoops. But anyways, it's an older album. So this is an older album from my band, Searching Serenity, online band basically. And I want to remix it. I want it to sound fresher, want it to sound good, and we have a lot of time right now. So I'm gonna take advantage of that, and I'm gonna do some recording, remixing all that. So I've got my phone streaming this video right now, so I'll have the comments showing. So if anyone pops in, has any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear your questions. I'd love to hear comments. I'd love to answer questions the best I can. I'm going to go ahead and type in here right now, ask me questions, and I will answer the best I can. Boom. So now people should see that even if they come in later. So yeah. So that's that. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of the song. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to play a little bit of the song right now just so you can kind of hear it. So you can hear how it sounds as of right now, how it sounded when I finished mixing it 2-ish years ago. Just going to play a little bit from where it really kicks in right here. All right, so something's already messed up. The drums are not quite as loud. Yeah. I don't know. It sounds a little off to me, honestly. Little iffy, but that's okay. That's why I'm going to fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the drums. I always really kind of like starting with drums when I do a mix. I feel like when I start with the drums, I'm getting that solid foundation. You know, drums are really a good foundation for any good mix. So I kind of bounce around. I hope that I'm still being heard. Yeah, I'm still being heard. Okay. Oh, there we go. I don't know. If I cut out, if I'm like talking and you're not hearing me, please let me know. So sorry. I'll go ahead and turn this up a little bit. So anyways, drums I think are such a great foundation for music, you know, especially metal music, obviously. So I use Mjolnir drums from Solemn Tones. I think that they are fantastic sounding. And I like them a lot. So I have a preset that I actually have made right now. As you can see, it's got everything specifically named. This should say kick. It's off because it's the first channel. But I love this because this way I am able to work with every individual piece. And I'm able to do mixing on every individual piece. And I'll show you a rundown of that. I'll kind of go through it real quick. This is it. Here's what it sounds like. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I'll go ahead and focus on the kick real quick. So as you can see, let me take off these settings real quick. So just the raw kick from the actual plugin sounds like this. Pretty cool. So then I've got this first thing here, the compressor. This does a couple different things. Basically, one of the things that it does is if you have the volume, say you have your volume level, here's no volume, here's max volume, something like that. You know, most sounds, you know, most instruments, such as a voice, has a big range of volume. You know, my voice right now, I'm talking a bit louder, but I can also really lower my voice and be talking quieter. So what a compressor does is it really kind of helps to take the lower volume things and kind of push them up a little bit, so that even if I'm talking quiet, you're still hearing it as if I'm talking louder, even though it sounds like I'm talking quiet, but you're hearing it louder. You know, it helps with that. It helps bring up quieter stuff. What it can also do is it can help kind of add in that more kind of punchy sound, like a strong, thicker sound, as silly as, I don't know. I'm not always the best at explaining some stuff. But with the kick drum specifically, it helps just bring all of it up and make it sound thicker, punchier, harder, and really just boom. So I'm going to show an example. I'm going to turn it off and on a couple times. You can see if it's off or on. Right now it's on because it's blue. Right now it's off because it's gray. So go start with it off, turn it off and on a couple times. So it's a subtle difference. It is a subtle difference, but it does add a little bit more of a punch. It adds a little bit more consistency. And what an EQ is, one way that I had this explained really helped. If you imagine from this range, you have 20 hertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz. This is just like 20,000 different volume switches, basically. And you can move it around to wherever you want. But each of these is at a different range within the spectrum of sound. These are super low sounds, like down 20 and under, you don't even like hear that. You really just feel it, if anything. And then 20,000, that's so high, you probably don't even hear that. You don't hear some stuff above, I think, 15K. I mean, well, depends how young you are. The younger you are, the higher the range you can hear. The older you are, the lower the range. So as you get older, you hear less and less high stuff. But yeah, really interesting. So what I've done here is I've gone through a couple parts where there's frequencies that sound really bad and are like kind of ringing out in different ways or just kind of hurting the mix, and I've taken those out for the most part. A lot of people sometimes will pull up EQs and just automatically start boosting stuff that they think sounds good, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's more effective to cut stuff that's bad out and then raise the overall volume later, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you some examples. I'll do the on-off thing again. So here's with it off. This is just the first EQ. Here's with the first EQ off. So one of the big differences that this one makes, as you can see right here, I'm cutting out some of the mid-frequency stuff that makes it sound kind of boxy. That's just like the term people throw around, but it makes sense if you're kind of just the way you kind of listen. It makes it sound flubby and like just weird, you know. But when I cut here, it helps take some of that out. And I'm actually going to try messing around with a little bit more cutting in the mids. Oh, I did some of that in this second EQ, actually. So I cut out a lot of the boxiness in this whole frequency range around like just above 200 to just under 500-ish, somewhere around there. These frequencies, cutting them out really helps. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'll just do it down here. So I'm going to start with the EQs off, and then I'll turn them on. You hear the difference. So the difference there is really good, because for this style, what you want is a kick that's really punchy and low and bassy. You know, you want it to be kicking and like shaking almost. You know, if you're in a car or you're just listening on speakers, you want to like feel the kick, not only hear the clicking, but you want to feel the kick. So that's what the low frequencies are for. And then that higher part that's kind of clicky, it almost sounds over the top now, but when it's mixed in with everything else, it helps give you a sound that stands out, that's not just the feel of the lower part. Because if you cut everything that's super high out and only have the low part, I mean, yeah, the low part's cool, but you're missing the cool sound of the kick, the slap of the beater. So it's important to have that. So here's what the kick sounds like. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So just giving a little rundown, got the snare. Here's what the snare sounds like right now. So really kind of what I did with the snare, it's pretty similar. I have 2 EQs and a compressor. You'll notice that I have the compressor in a different spot right now. So I have it in the middle, which it might appear weird. The reason I did that is because there's a couple frequencies, and realistically I could have done this with the kick too, and I probably should have. I might end up changing it at some point. But there were some frequencies in the snare that were ringing out and sounding bad. I'll go ahead and play the snare without these effects real quick. See right there, it sounds a lot boxier. There's a lot of high and low end that's not there. You just really hear a lot of mid stuff, and it just doesn't sound that good. Doesn't sound that clear. So what I started with was I went through to some of the frequencies that were ringing really bad, and I'll show you an example of that, and I pulled them out. So here's like one frequency. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to turn these all off. Just going to keep this one. Here's one frequency that was ringing out really bad every time the snare hit. So I'll show you an example. So you see that like ding, ding. That's not good. That doesn't sound good. So that's why I took it out. So I see it's at 3100 hertz. A cool way to test and find stuff like this. Let me find a part where it plays the snare a couple times. Hold on. All right, well, here's what I'll do. I'll just kind of loop this part. Ah, shoot, just missed it. There we go. So here's what I'm going to do. So I know that this is at 3100 hertz. I'm going to pretend that I'm just coming into this session, and I'm just going to try and find a bad frequency, and I'll show you kind of how you want to look for that. So I'm going to start with it off. I'm going to play, and I'm just going to kind of drag it up and sweep around, and you'll hear some parts stick out that sound worse than others. So, anyways, that's just an example of sweeping and trying to find those bad frequencies. So again, once I take them out, it just helps to clean it up. So the reason that I put this EQ on first before the compressor is so that when I send it into the compressor, it's not taking those frequencies into account as much and amplifying them with everything else. It's kind of helping to cut them out and keep them out better. So here's the snare without the compressor and then with. So see, immediately it makes the whole thing louder, but the tail, the part of the snare after the hit, you know, it's got the initial ding, but then it kind of rings out a little bit. Without the compressor, it dies out a lot quicker. Listen. It dies out a lot quicker. But with the compressor, it helps bring up that rattle afterwards a little bit more. Just let it stick around a bit more. I don't know what hand motions I'm doing. I'm trying. But it just helps to stick around longer, and it makes the whole thing a bit punchier and louder as a whole. And then I've got another EQ just with some more, as I said before, cuts, mostly cuts, except I did do a significant amount of shelf over here, high shelf, just to bring up a lot of higher frequencies. So I'll go ahead and play without and then with. So that, listening to it by itself, it really sounds almost like overkill. It really kind of does. Let me go ahead and play the whole drum set real quick, see how it sounds together. So, as you can see, with everything together, whoops, with everything together, it sounds good with that higher frequency thrown in. It makes it stand out and sound really crisp and present, as opposed to sounding far away and dry, kind of like it does without. Yeah, sounds awesome. That sounds great to me. So then I'm going to do real quick. So just the toms, I've done pretty much the same thing. Compressor to make them louder, channel EQ mainly just to take out some bad frequencies, make the drum hit sound a little bit clearer and nicer. Cymbals, I cut out a lot of low end because there's some low end rattle and stuff that stays in there that you don't need. You really don't need that. So it keeps it nice and clear, leaves low end room for some of the thicker drums and stuff that take that room up. The last thing I'll talk about real quick is this one track here, the parallel compression. So let me play this real quick. So this is a drum track. It's got all the drums accounted for in this one track. The thing with this track is that basically I'm using a compressor very harshly to bring the volume of everything up. And what I do with this is that I added in to the rest of the drum set, and it just kind of helps to give an extra little boost. So here's without the parallel compression track. I love the difference that makes, and it's super easy to do. All I'm doing is literally just everything is being sent to a bus, which makes up this string. I have a couple more things, so these are actually disabled. They should not be. But this here, finality, is basically a limiter. It helps raise the volume of everything even more and give it a more punch and whatnot, but it also limits so it doesn't let it exceed, in this case, -1 decibel. So here's without. Huge difference. And then some EQ just to really smooth things out as a whole. This is, again, just a couple cuts and a very tiny raise, 0.5 decibel. Yeah, that's not good. Oh, shoot, and I have to fix it. There we go. That sounds good. Yeah, that's my drums. That is my drums. I did a couple little changes actually, so I'm gonna go ahead and save that real quick. Hold on just a moment. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, that is my drums. So moving on, the next thing that I'm going to do is guitar. I love guitar. Guitar is my favorite instrument. So, oh, nope. Mute. All right. Oh, power's off. That's why it's not. Okay. Hold on. Something funky's going on here. Oh, I didn't have a solo. That was the problem. Aha. There we go. Sweet. All right. That sounds bad. That just sounds straight up bad, honestly. So, whoop. Okay. So. Yeah. I don't like that. I'm going to take these things off for now, too. All right. That sounds very tingy. I don't know. That's like just the word that comes to mind. It sounds very tingy, very a lot of high-pitched stuff that's ringing and like poking at my eardrums very hard, and it hurts, and it does not sound good. That's what that is. So I'm going to fix that. I am going to fix that. So let me get some water first. All right. So, I have a couple options with guitar. So right now, what I have on here is the Misha Mansour plugin, using an 8-string preset that is not good, obviously. It's very harsh. Let me try. I'm just going to try and mess with it real quick. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I am not. I don't know. I like the plugin. I just have mixed feelings. I think just for my style, it doesn't always work that well, but that's okay. There's other plugins out there. It's not the only fish in the sea. So I actually am using a trial right now of the Granifier plugin from Neural DSP. So let me pull that up. Let me mess with that real quick. I have a preset for guitar that I normally use, but let me mess with this real quick. All right. I have mixed feelings about that one too. I'm gonna be honest, I really do. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my main plugin, work with that a little bit, see how it sounds. So this is the STL Tones Andy James plugin. Let's see how this one sounds. What I'm also using on it is I am using the Get Good Drums Zilla cab setup. So it's kind of funny. It's a drum company thing, but yet it's guitar cab impulses. So I'm using this because it's got some stuff that I really like and works really well, in my opinion. So that is really what makes up my guitar. I mean, for the most part, I'm using the Andy James plugin. I'm using it with Amp 2, so like the 5150 kind of thing. Amp 2, it's not using the cab. It says it's on cab 1. It's not using the cab. Without the cab impulse, it would sound like this. Like crap, basically. So it's not using the cab. And I'm using the Andy James Revenant pedal. Focus is off, but I'm using the pedal here. And yeah, I mean, that's so you can have it. Here's my pedal settings. Here's my amp settings. You can pause the video and go dial that if you really would want. And then I just have that into the studio cab thing. Just has a bunch of different, I mean, it's the same cab and mostly same speakers, some different mic. I mean, really similar stuff. It's just the mixing of it that makes a difference. But I just like the way that sounds. And then again, on the main track for those two guitar tracks, I have a compressor to just bring up some of the quieter stuff, make it sound a bit more consistent, and then an overall EQ. Just cleans it up. It keeps the high-end stuff that's in there. Like in that other plugin, it would sound really high and weird. It keeps some of that, but not as much. It's more balanced, and it makes it sound a little bit better, honestly, in my opinion. So, yeah, that is that. So this next one right here, let's see. This is another guitar track, I believe. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. This one is doing Tone Forge still. I'm going to keep this one. This is just an effect thing. This is not like a full-on guitar track for the whole song. This is just like a very lo-fi sounding guitar track. That doesn't sound bad because I'm cutting out a lot of stuff that would normally kind of be bad. Here's what it sounds like without those two, not shelves, the cut frequencies, the low and high cut. See, it's like a razor, and I'm just cutting all that zzz out and just keeping the mid stuff. And I'm actually boosting a little bit. In this case, I am boosting a bit, but it's doing a much wider, bit of boosting. There's a specific word, I can't think of it right now, but yeah. That sounds good. So then when added with the guitars, hold on. Let me get that better sounding real quick. I'm going to go ahead. Oh yeah, so sorry. So I'm using a couple different things on this. So I'm starting with JST Clip just to really, and I don't even know why I specifically chose that one, but it's a good plugin. This is kind of a compressor almost. It just raises the level of stuff like crazy. So here's with it off. Hold on. So this is just for the DI tracks. Oh, that sounds bad. So I think it was the guitar I was using at the time. It didn't have as high of a output, so that's why. So that right there does not help these sound any better too. So I'm kind of working with like bad DIs, honestly, but that's okay, making it work. So then it goes into the plugin. Whoop, I can cut some of that stuff off there realistically. So yeah, anyways, that, and then this is like, I don't know why I put this on either, honestly. Really, all that's doing is just raise. I'm just going to take that off. I don't need that there. I'm just going to instead use the built-in compressor right here. That was pointless. And then actually, so I'm going to show the EQ real quick. Well, I showed the EQ. It's just doing that stuff. I'm going to use this to adjust the level and balance it out real quick. There we go. So now let me go ahead and test this real quick with the drums as well. It's not completed yet, but it's a good start. And hey, for anyone that's here right now, thank you for joining in. If you have any questions or comments or anything, please feel free to comment. I've got my comments up right here. I would love to hear from anyone, whether it be a question or a critique or just a hey or something. I don't care. Say something, anything, and I will be honored. So anyways, let's go ahead and see how this sounds so far. Still going to have to do some balancing, and that's okay. I'm expecting that. All right, cool. We've got stuff. That's good. Like I said, I'm going to go back through shortly and actually balance this stuff out. This is just the initial stage. So this next track here is, let me go ahead and turn those off just for power. So this is like a cool effect. This is just like the kind of the airy sounding guitar that's like super reverby and stuff. So let's hear how that sounds. So I'm adding just some extra input and volume to that because I want that to be really like consistent sounding, and it was a little rough sounding. Atmospheric background. Yeah. Cool sound. I like that sound. And then I've got the EQ on here just cutting out the edges, you know. Here's what it sounds like without. It cuts out a lot of low end. Again, without the low end, or with the low end. See, it takes out a lot of that just like that stuff that it does not serve any good purpose. It's not helping the sound at all, so you just take it out. It's just muddying up the mix. It leaves room for the low end, for the kick and the bass and the toms and the parts of the snare that's lower and sounds good, lower, you know. It leaves room for that stuff. That's what you want. You want to kind of create gaps that the proper things can fill rather than just letting everything fill up spots everywhere. It's kind of like a puzzle almost. You could look at it like that. It's almost like a puzzle. So then with this too, I can use the volume within the plugin to actually balance it out. So let me go forward a little bit. Have a lead over here. Let's see. This is most of the stuff's getting pretty repetitive, so I'm not going to dive in too much. There we go. Okay, so let's see how this sounds. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and boost that a little bit. Just give a little more input. All right, cool. It also, that effect in there does have a delay going. It's a little rough, or a little high, I'm sorry. So I'm going to mess with that a little bit. Let me see, hold on. All right, I'm actually going to switch this to, oh, that's the wrong thing. Here we go, main tone. That's the one I want. So I'm going to switch this to my main lead sound, which I normally use for stuff. That sounds good. So see, that sounds a lot clearer to me. Sounds a lot clearer. Go ahead and boost the input again. I was not using the best guitar for this. Nice. That's good. That is good. All right. Sweet. Good. Sounds good. And then I'm going to go ahead and just double this track and just put this up here too. It's the same exact thing. Oh, shoot. Did I just delete that? I just deleted it. Wrong thing. There we go. All right. Now we have the bass. The bass. So what I'm using for the bass is Avalanche Bass from Impact Studios, I believe. I think. Let me go ahead and pull it up real quick and see. Impact Studios. I got it. Sweet. Avalanche Bass. So I like this bass overall. I really like this bass. It's got a little, it's a weird sounding grit sound. But it works. It works. And I could do more editing, make it sound different in different ways. I don't care to right now. I like it. I like it. Really cool. Really cool plugin. So I have an updated preset, so I am going to go ahead and pull that up real quick. Avalanche. So as you can see right there, it sounds a little bit more present and clear and stuff. Really good in my opinion, my personal opinion. And it mixes well with stuff too. So that's always awesome. Sounds perfect. The perfect bass player. The perfect bassist. Sweet. So this next plugin, I love this one. This is the Rise and Hit plugin. Rise and Hit. Super awesome. It's a plugin just chock full of presets of stuff like that. The rises, and then the hits. So you can use just rises, just hits, or both together. And there's so many different variations. This is a preset that is just, it comes with the plugin called Fire Swoosh 1. I love some of these names. Perfect. You can change all kinds of stuff. You can change how loud each part is, how quick or slow it starts and finishes. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. Great plugin. All right, so this next thing, I think this is vocals. Yep. Okay, so these next two are vocals. So I'm going to go ahead and start first. Well, I'll start with this. So this works. This is a short section, very short section. I mean, actually, I want this in the middle. I don't like that offset kind of thing. This is like a lo-fi thing, basically. No reverb, no delays, nothing, no crazy effects, just a lo-fi sounding vocal. So here's what it sounds like without anything on it. Alright. Not bad. Not bad, if I do say so myself. So what I'm using first is Gain Reduction Deluxe. Great plugin. Great plugin. So turn it on. Here's what it sounds like. So as you can see, I do have the lo-fi switch selected on right now. Here's without. So the difference this is basically a compressor, but it's just especially for vocals. I mean, you can use it on other stuff, and it works great, but it works really well with vocals. So this is a compressor, basically. What this does, this is how much of that lower volume stuff gets pulled up, and then this is just like almost like a volume switch. Excuse me. If you want to get more or less volume from the output that comes from over here. And then this is kind of like how thin or thick the mix sounds, like how much of the low end or how little of the low end for the most part. So I'll go ahead and mess with some settings real quick. I'll pull the slay down. I think right here is kind of like the median, like as if this is technically 0, even though it says 29 or 26.9. So anyways, and then this is technically 0 when it's right there on that line, something like that. So here's with it at basically like neutral settings. As you can see, as I pull it up, it gets a little bit louder. And it makes it more consistent. The quiet stuff gets louder, the loud stuff stays loud, the middle stuff gets louder too. Everything kind of, if you have volume from here down to here, it really just pulls everything so it's like all the same volume, even though the dynamic of it might sound different. Really helpful. And then again, the gain is kind of just like a volume button, so I'll pull it down a lot and then up, you'll see. Cool stuff. And then again, lo-fi. I like that they have that built in. And then this EQ here, this is almost pointless. Let me go ahead and test without and then with. Okay, so it just makes it a little bit more of an intense lo-fi. Just cuts off a little extra stuff. It works. And then finally, down here, so this is an outdated preset, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and delete and add in the new preset that I use for vocals with the Howard Benson Vocal Suite. Great plugin. I have a preset. You can go ahead and check it. Here is like our basic kind of compressor, the main part, EQ. I don't use the multiplier or the width very much. I mean, they're both really cool, but I just don't use them too often. Then we have our main like echo, the delay, space, reverb, and then kind of like a final limiter. They did this in a great order. It works really well, really cool, really good plugin. So I'll go ahead and show without each part and then with. So this is raw right now. And those who seek to praise them. So right there, you can see it brings the volume up a lot, makes it sound a lot more consistent, and it even has this grit thing, which just adds in some extra, like, very light overdrive almost. Makes it just sound a little bit crackly and stuff, but it works. So that's that, and then I'll add in the EQ next. Will always be brought. So it cuts out some of that low stuff that's just rumbling that doesn't really help. Helps highlight some of the higher stuff, make it sound more present. And also cuts out a little bit of the boxy stuff. Not too much, but a little. So then the echo, I try and make it kind of subtle. Right now it's at like 32%. Oh, I might change that down a bit. Let's see. Yeah. I would say my only complaint with this plugin, not even too much a complaint, more a critique, I guess. I wish there was a noise gate at the beginning of the plugin. Pretty much every Joey Sturgis plugin, or at least all the guitar ones, all the guitar plugins have like a built-in noise gate at the start. It would be cool if this had one. That would help a lot. I don't know. Sometimes I put a noise gate in the strip, In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and do that just for some of those little parts where it's like music's playing. You can hear it through my headphones. Let me go ahead and make this real hard. Yeah. I don't like that. Hold on. Here we go. Make it harsher. Let's see. That sounds pretty good. Let's see here. See, a little crackly. Yeah. It's rough. Yeah, I'm not going to keep it on there. I don't want it to sound like that, so I could just go through and just manually just take out like that. That works. Joey, add a noise gate, and that would be perfect. It would be perfect. It's still pretty darn perfect, even without. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. Yeah. So, that there is the whole song. And then this is basically the mastering chain. I'll kind of do that at the end. So now I'm kind of really at the cool stage, the really fun part. I've got everything all set up. And I have these all saved as presets, like I was saying earlier. So it makes it easier to mix when I already have presets. I can really just kind of apply the preset to each instrument, do some fine-tuning if necessary, and I'm done. It makes it real quick. I was just doing this extra demo info just to explain the process. So let me go ahead and make sure everything's on. Oh, yeah, so I've got, I forgot to turn that back on. So on the rise and hit thing here, I added on just a compressor thing meant for sound effects like that. So really, all that did is just help make some of the quieter stuff a little bit louder. This is pretty much it. I don't even think it raised volume, really. So I'm going to go ahead and start the actual mixing. So I'm going to start with the drums, and I'm just going to kind of add in stuff as I go. Guitar, atmosphere, lo-fi lead 1. Just kind of do this so you can see what I'm working with. Bass, rise and hit, lo-fi vocals, main vocals, and then this is talkback mic, whatever. So I'm going to start with the drums. Good, so that. Start with the drums and guitar. Actually, I'm sorry. No, start with the drums and bass. I usually start with drums and bass. And I like to kind of go ahead and pull down the volume on the bass and raise it up. I like to do that with most stuff. So I'm just going to start doing it. Again, if you have questions, please comment. Let me know. I would love to answer questions. I'll stop and answer something. But otherwise, just enjoy. I am starting with drums, and I'm just going to be mixing everything. So the cymbals sound weirdly weak. Oh, no, never mind. They sound, okay, I don't know what I was hearing. I don't know. They sound fine. All right. All right. I'm going to go with that. That sounds good. So now I'll go ahead and bring in the guitars. I'm going to start with this compressor. I'm going to pull the volume down, bring it up slowly. Yeah, those cymbals are not that good. So let me... Sometimes if the velocity is a little too low, it just is not quite cutting it. So I'm going to go ahead and just... Whoops. That works. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Better. All right, so back to guitar. All right, I would say that sounds pretty well balanced. I'm going to go back to this lo-fi lead real quick. Let's see how this sounds. I want that to be real subtle. I don't want it to be standing out like crazy, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it down kind of like that for now. Oh, wait, no. Okay, got that. Go ahead and go on to this lead. All right, so I'll start by pulling the volume down a good little bit. That's not bad. That's not bad. So I'll go on to here. Let's see how it sounds here. All right, cool. Why does it change there? Oh. What? There we go. All right. So I do need to add in a couple little effects here. So this is supposed to actually bounce back and forth a little bit with some panning. So let's see. Hold on. There we go. Stays over there. That's good. And then basically same thing with the the right side, but just opposite. Go ahead and do the panning absolute. Go ahead and bring it in. Bring it down. All right, so it's very loud, so I got to go ahead and balance the volume real quick. So over on the left side, it is at 2.5. Over here, it's at like 3.5 or something. So now. Nice. Oops, and this should be absolute. Whoopsies. Here we go. My bad. Shoot. No. No! I hate when this happens. Click that wrong button, just messes everything up, you know? Let's try that again. All right. Drag it down. Drag it up. Drag it down. And drag it up. Boom. Alright, something messed up. Oh, it's because I was doing the other one. That messed up. Don't want that. Okay, let's try this again. That's correct. That's correct. Alright, so then go back to this. Stays there for perfect. Sounds good so far. forgot to show the reverb. Sorry about that, but reverb, light, not too heavy, and then the output. My bad. Yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, that's that. Let me go ahead and check everything out again real quick. Nice. That sounds pretty cool to me, honestly. Sounds pretty cool. All right. So finally, the mastering process is pretty fun. So I have a plugin for this or a preset for this as well. So I've got this first plugin here called JSD Mix. Hold on, actually, hold on. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't. Oh no, that is it. Okay. All right. So let's check this out. So you'll notice it actually makes it a bit quieter initially. But what it's doing, it pulls the volume down, but it's kind of balancing out stuff. I mean, really, same thing as before. It's basically taking some quiet stuff, bringing it up a bit, and also just kind of it makes it feel like the mix is all kind of glued together a bit more. Makes it feel like the drums are really impacting the guitars. Whenever there's a chug and a kick drum at the same time, it makes it feel like it's gluing it together more. So then I have an EQ just to, final on the whole song, cut out a little bit of stuff that's weird, add in a little bit of low end, add in a little bit of high end. And there's actually one thing I wanted to look at. I want to look at the kick again real quick. Make sure that I'm getting adequate pulsing. Okay, let me check this. So I'm just going to add in a little bit. I'm going to do, let me try 3. Yeah, I don't want to add in too much. I don't want it to sound boxy. I'll stay with 3.5. I think that's good. That's kind of like right where the kick is really booming. You can kind of see. Just to kind of add a little extra. Just to add a little extra. Let's see how it sounds all together. Nice. So then I have an adaptive limiter, which is cool. And it helps to really push everything as much as it can go without technically busting over. In this case, right under 0 dB. It's actually at negative 0.1. So let's see how that sounds. Nice. And actually, I didn't do this, but I'm going to have this test and put the input at the, or I'm sorry, wait, hold on. Yeah, input at the proper level for this song. Nice. And I'm going to add in the tube warmth. Okay. Sweet. Yeah. So I always like to, I'll go ahead and save the mix, save it as it is. And I always like to usually bounce it out, listen to it in the car a couple times, listen to it on some different headphones. Usually I can like find some stuff that maybe needs to be changed that I didn't quite hear at first. But general first thoughts are that this sounds a lot better than it did before. It sounds a lot clearer, a lot more clarity, more punchiness in the right areas, louder in some ways, but not too much. But it just, to me, it kind of works right now. So yeah, that as a whole, that's my process. That's basically what I do, how I do a lot of, I mean, pretty much all my music. I pretty much do the same thing. Just a lot of tweaking. Got my presets that I've been working on over years, that really helps. But yeah, that's my thing. So I hope that this has been kind of helpful and informative for people. I'm going to go ahead. I'll bounce a mix of it out right now. Let me just find where I put it. Let's see. That's wrong. I do it here. Nope, not a cover. It's an original. 2020 remix. Downfall. Remix. Whoops. V1. Okay, awesome. I forgot that it was going to mute me. So yeah, anyways, I hope that was informative. Hope you liked it. Feel free to message me with questions if any pop up. But otherwise, I hope everyone has a good day. Peace. Oh, wait. Hold on. There we go. Peace.